animal chiropractors among them and their clients, and building community for animal owners so that they can find the information that they need. We had a conversation last weekend during class, and it was about, so many of you know my husband, Dr. O. You know a little bit of his story, perhaps. If you're in the animal chiropractic community, you know his story because you would have met at some point his son, Riley, who was autistic with a seizure disorder. So my stepson, Riley, was a handful. He was not fun to be around necessarily sometimes, and could be very difficult to be with me. He did not respect my boundaries, and he would create a little bit of havoc every now and then. That said, what that meant was for Dr. O, he had to be like close by, available a lot. So a lot of Riley's life he spent with Dr. O. And I mean, for all intents and purposes, he was a great kid. Sorry. But part of Dr. O's story is his journey and what he learned, what Riley taught him. And so as we continue to build community and share our stories and share information about what we've learned from our animals and our kids and our lives, one of the biggest things he learned was that he felt he could have known more. He could have and he should have known more about how to help his autistic son. This was a kid who, less than 24 hours after his first MMR vaccine at 18 months old, had a seizure and had continued to have seizures the rest of his life, at least twice a month, was on routine seizure medications, had a neurologist, had all those doctors monitoring and watching what he was doing. And one of the biggest things that Dr. O learned after Riley's death was that it was the medications. It wasn't the it could have been prevented, or at least it could have been a better life for him. And that said, oftentimes he says that 17 chiropractors failed him because they didn't say to him, you should get Riley adjusted on a regular basis instead of giving him the drugs. Now, not and give the drugs, but instead of giving the drugs. We know that because of what we see in our animal patients. When we remove most of the drugs that animals are on for pain and fear and anxiety and depression and, all those other things, have the exact side effects of what those animals are showing as symptoms. And when we ask the owners to make that decision, the animals get better faster, and we are better able to help them. So that conversation went on over the weekend, and someone said to Bill, well, couldn't you have reached that better? Why are you blaming chiropractors? And here's the reality of that. All right, 1983, Riley was born in 1985. 1983 was when the Wilkes versus AMA case by the Supreme Court said that it was unlawful for MDs to tell their patients that chiropractic was quackery. It is unlawful for your MD to tell you that you should not go see a chiropractor. It's in the law. It's been there since 1983. But it was 1985 or 1986, when the Vaccine Liability Act was proposed, and it took all any side effects that happened because of vaccines away from the pharmaceutical companies. What did that mean? That meant that, boom, they ramped up the number of vaccines that children were getting right after that, because it became just a money fest for those pharmaceutical companies. Riley was born in 1985. So what do you suppose the propaganda was back then? Vaccinate, vaccinate, vaccinate. Most of you can tell me the McDonald's jingle or some fast food restaurant slogan, because you hear it all the time. Marketing is about memorization. And if these vaccine companies, boom, were suddenly marketing and pushing this with the MDs, look, we'll pay you, you can make money, we'll make money, everybody will make money because these kids will get vaccinated more. Guess what's going to happen? The talk in the room is not that any of these things can happen to your kid. The talk in the room at that very moment really set Riley up for a disaster. That said, telling Dr. O that he probably should have researched more, the research just wasn't there. And the knowledge wasn't there. And so one of the things that we encourage our animal chiropractors to do is to talk about what you do. Create a community of people who can share that information so that others know that you're available, so that others know it's out there. When the community can share information, when that education is out there, and just so you know, there is lots of research about what animal chiropractic can do for animals, not just dogs and horses. Much of the research has actually been done on pigs and chickens and cattle. Those animals that become part of us, part of our food chain. If you want to look it up, I'm sure you can look it up online. It's available. But that said, don't be afraid to talk to people. Don't be afraid to tell people what you do. Don't be afraid to be visible so that people can find you, so that your community can be healthier, wealthier, and wiser. If you're a veterinarian or a chiropractor who has not added animal chiropractic to your practice just yet, find us today at animalchiropracticeducation.com. Register for Intro to Animal Chiropractic, complimentary tickets for that, and I will see you tomorrow morning.